This is Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle.
Welcome back to Inside the Wolf's Den with your hosts, Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle. So a lot of the topics that we discuss on this podcast is really from the experiences that we've had as business owners over the last 23 years, right? And so we want to kind of give back what we learned through the years, which, man, it's been a ton. Like, we go through different phases in our business. And at this level anymore today, it's about managing people.
Yeah.
Right.
And just on that note, before we even get there, just so you guys know, Joni and I invest money into doing this. Part of it's us wanting to contribute and give back. But if you guys get benefit out of this, please share it, and please share it with somebody that you think can get benefit out of it. Please rate it, because that's how we get known and it gets spread more, the message. So for us, it's all about giving back, and we don't advertise or do anything like that on this show. So for us, we rely on our listeners to really spread the message.
Absolutely.
So on that note, please, if you're getting something out of this, please share it and with your community, and we would love to share the message. But yes, answering your question, we share everything that we live on a day-to-day. Like, we're true entrepreneurs running small businesses, and I got plenty of the gray hair to go with it, because that's what goes with managing people, right? It's
all the lessons that we've learned. And starting our business at 19 years old, we had to put in the work, right?
Correct.
And develop ourselves to be better leaders so we could effectively manage people.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't come from a corporate background, and we didn't really have any jobs, so we didn't have any kind of formal training or just what we kind of picked up in school and just life experience. And so that's where we've had to learn on.
So if you feel like you suck at something, let me tell you, we sucked at it too, right? And so, it's hard sometimes, because I listen to and coach a lot of people, and when I hear what they're talking about, the biggest thing is that they don't spend enough time with their people, with their employees, right? And so I think that's why today we're going to be talking about soft skills for effective people management.
And so and where I got this topic from was just the more I look back, and the more I look back at what caused my gray hairs and what I'm learning.
Was it me? I'm glad it was
well,
me.
half of it was you. But the other part was just the people part of it. And I think number one, I'm speaking for ourselves, and we're not perfect by any means. Joni and I are not perfect at this. We're still learning day to day. But as we've worked with other businesses, as we've grown our own business, and looking back, I think where people constantly fail is on the people side, and on the spending, like you just said, spending the time, the resources, the energy in your people and staff, and training and motivating and developing leaders and all that, because that's really what drives your business, because they're the front lines majority of the time, especially as you get bigger and bigger. They're the ones that are talking to the clients, driving your business. All our salespeople, everything is from your staff and the people. And so why are we not spending more time on that than I think.
And we get busy, of course, right? Yeah. Everybody does, and they feel like, oh, we don't have the time to do that. Where I think a lot of business owners fail is that they think it's their manager's responsibility, right, to develop the people. But really, honestly, it starts with the CEO. It starts at the top.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, the business owner, the founder, I think they're the ones that need to practice it. And we've failed at it many times. We've taken that approach, well, it's not. Why I hired, so and so
to do it. So they should. Why aren't they doing it?
Yeah, and so it's and it's got to start from us investing and spending the time and the energy into those people, and then they go down, downstream with it.
Which is one of the reasons why we have a leadership team, right? Yeah. So in our leadership teams, we discuss things like this, and our accountability is in our leadership team, and they're the ones that drive that to the rest of the organization.
But you and I need to hold our leadership team accountable. We need to spend our time, resources building them, but don't get me wrong, we still go down and some of the best messages that we ever get, like, or responses is like, if you and I see somebody just killing it, just, doing really well in their position, and we send a thank you card, or we send a handwritten card, or we do just a Teams message to them. It makes a big impact.
Huge difference.
On them. No, so I don't think that you can go downstream with it, but I think,
absolutely.
But you and I's responsibility is really to build up that team, build up the leadership team, invest and give them feedback and hold them accountable. And then they do in turn the same for their
100%.
team. So, what I wanted to get, because I think, Joni and I go to a lot of conferences and a lot of masterminds and all that. And it, a lot of times, and I was there for years, is you're always going for it because you're looking for the tactical approach. You're looking for the next best marketing strategy, or the next, something you always think it's something like revolutionize.
Right.
It's going to revolutionize your business. And you get those, don't get me wrong, you get the newest, best, but it doesn't matter if you don't have a team or people to implement that strategy, or to implement the next marketing thing or tactic. And so, or a sales team. And so it still comes down to the people. And we just forget the soft skills of managing people. And so we're going to have 7 different kind of points that we're going to go through today, as far as outlining, some of the ways to improve your soft skills with people management. So, the first one was kind of going into the understanding of the soft skills.
Right.
And so, it's the soft, mushy part of, and most people avoid it because I think they don't want to deal with it, right? Do you agree? Or it's something that people really, not all. I think people that get into HR and some probably enjoy it, but in our HR company, you can see they enjoy this part of it, but most people don't.
I think everybody has obviously a different skill set, and I'm a people person, so I like talking to people. I like dealing with people. Do
you like managing people?
I've learned to like managing people.
Because I agree, you like people, but I think you like it more on the marketing, business development side than the management side.
True.
Is that right or no?
Yeah, it is right. But for example, you don't like dealing with people at all. So you definitely don't like to manage people.
Yes. But I've learned to, and we'll get through this where I've failed on some of the management part of it. But it's so crucial, and that's why we want to spend some time on it and do a podcast on it, because it's building, strong relationship with your employees is so important, and building them up, developing them, encouraging them, motivating, all the above, and giving, more than anything, feedback.
It all goes back to feedback, providing that feedback, right? I think that's where a lot of people feel uncomfortable doing, because they don't like to have those uncomfortable, difficult conversations, right?
And all this leads to employee retention and keeping people long term. Because
if you think about it, if you're hiring a new employee, right, and if you don't spend that time with them early on, providing that feedback, giving them a good experience, right, they're probably not going to be with your company very long, right?
And so, just talking about onboarding and what you're talking about at the beginning, I think it's so crucial that we were just on a podcast yesterday talking about this, and we were talking about remote team members. And we were there because of our True Work Logistics, which is our remote team member business, and that's why we were there. But the point in it was to talk about how do you cultivate, how do you develop, and how do you retain remote team members, because a lot of people are headed that direction, especially after COVID. So for us, it was, we really spent some time talking about the onboarding process. And so we've created a really in-depth onboarding process for remote team members as well as U.S. based employees. That
Which
we hire.
really, it's the same thing. And that's the thing too, is it doesn't matter, if they're remote team members or if they're in office staff, right? You want to treat them the same because they're people. They're part of your team.
So, but to go into that, where we really, so the soft skills of managing people starts at the onboarding process, right? And the
pre-boarding processing, because really a lot of individuals think that the onboarding process starts from
their first day.
The first day of work, which it doesn't. It shouldn't. It should start beforehand, like sending them a welcome email or video saying, "Hey, I'm Joni Wolfswinkel, the owner of Real Property Management. Welcome aboard," right? And then what to expect on their first day. Imagine if you sent that to them.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, going back to responding to people quickly on the interview process, having good, strong interviews, maybe a couple of them, especially with different team members, to the offer letter, and then once you get in that process, once they're signed and they're committed to joining your company, before they start, we have videos, we have email introductions, we have employment form, everything's all happening. So they're constantly getting all this communicate. So by the time they actually start their first day, like, wow, I've already like talked and interacted with these people already.
I feel comfortable. I'm getting, because they want to know what to expect.
Correct. They know what we're expecting of them. And like, okay, they communicate this much. Obviously they're going to expect me to communicate with them, and with them, with our clients and all that throughout the process. But something of the soft skills too is like one of the emails that they get before they onboard with us is a like get to know them email, and it's a couple questions that we ask them, like, what restaurant they like to eat at, or what candy. I think there's candy in there and stuff like that, because you want to get to know the employee before they even start. And so, like, we'll take them out usually their first week, and it's usually to the restaurant that they like, that they like,
right?
And you're doing all this to tell them and show them that you care,
right?
And that and is to develop that trust and everything from the
very start.
So if you don't have a strong onboard, and we have everything documented in a process and it's task driven, and so it makes everything really easy. Once our system or CRM software, we go through all these steps, and it sends out the emails automatically. It sends and it's all built out to so there's some automation, which is really nice, but then there's some just soft people skills and just getting to know
absolutely. So onboarding is really key, and that's where it starts there. If you're hiring new employees, remote team members, whatever it is, like really focusing on that onboarding.
Correct. So the second part is the empathy and emotional intelligence. I think this gets into the soft skills and the mushy part. Just be flat out honest that, and I'll speak for myself, I don't know. We are not very empathetic people.
Speak for yourself, Shawn, because
I know you.
And I'll tell you a story because.
No, I know you're not very empathetic.
I'm not very empathetic?
No.
Oh, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, neither one of us are.
Maybe I need to work on my self-awareness then.
Yeah. Which is the next point. But go ahead. Yeah. So what were you going to say? What's your story?
No, your story. Well, I know you're not empathetic because I remember one of the first AC calls that we ever received. Like the lady's complaining that she has no AC. You told her to go to a movie to watch. I'm like, Shawn, why would you say that? Like, stop that.
I just think of cold places as a movie theater. So I'm like, if it's that bad in the house, then go watch a movie. Go get out of the house. But I thought it was a good practical. I'm very practical.
You are not empathetic.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are, though. I'm not either, obviously.
No, but I think as a manager and managing people and working with people, you need to be empathetic and have emotional intelligence. And, we've failed at that. We've had some leadership people that were really bad at this, that caused a lot of turnover in our organization that we were,
and we didn't realize it. We thought, they're doing a great job, and we got so many complaints from it to the point where they started leaving, and then we had exit interviews, and it pointed back to this one person. And the
emotional intelligence. Yeah. And so you got to be mindful that in your organization that you need you need to be empathetic to people, what they're going through in their situations. And this is just life in general, but
so if it's not you, if you can't do that, you have to learn how to be empathetic.
And people put yourself in their shoes is what we say a lot, and 100%. Just get to understand where they're coming from. You don't necessarily have to agree all the time, and you're going to want to coach them up and show them, especially in this industry, how to have stronger, tougher skin and not take things so personally, and sometimes and understand where the people's intentions are. Sometimes we take it that it's an attack personally, and it's not always the case.
And I think a lot of we really need to know the employees' like communication style, right? Because I think that is part of it too. I mean, each one of us communicates differently and responds to things differently, and so you really need to know your people.
Yeah, absolutely. So being emotionally intelligent, understand the way you say something, the
how you say
it, and how that's going to impact the person that you're speaking to. And so just be aware of that. And we all make mistakes in life, and we all, it happens, but the more aware you are of it, the more empathetic you can be. You don't have to, you can still hold people accountable, but still, be empathetic to their situation, right, or understand, with, and work with them and coach with them. And, we do a lot of one-on-ones in our organization, a lot of feedback, and the reason why is because, yes, we want people to improve, but we want to know that we want to still show them that we care. We're going through this process to help them improve, and laying out a plan on how they can improve on some of the deficiencies maybe that they're going through, and lay it out so they understand it. And then once they've achieved those, then, what's the next steps after that? And so people understand it's not, we're picking on them. We're not,
and it goes both ways too, offering them to give feedback to us as well.
Absolutely. And being receptive to that.
Exactly. Which can be hard at times with managers and leaders that, they're not receptive to listening to that, because they're not wrong.
So be careful, be mindful of that in your organization. If you see it, correct it quickly, from our experience, because it's just going to get worse. And then if you can't get it corrected, it does lead to, really what it leads to is toxicity.
Toxic in the organization.
Yeah. So be mindful and then that just ruins your culture. So the third segment is communication and active listening. That sounded like the podcast we're on when the guy's like, I don't know if that's good or bad. But communication, active listening. So understanding, you got to be a good communicator. And if you're going to manage people, you got to know how to communicate your thoughts and what you're trying to portray, but then also at the same time listen. And I think a lot of communication comes to listening.
Active listening.
And just go ahead.
So let me ask you, for those that don't feel that they are great communicators, what would you say could help these individuals to be better communicators?
It's a great question. Number one is, I think, so just see, Joni and I listen to just as many podcasts as we put out podcasts. So we walk every morning, and we're listening to podcasts every morning when we walk. And so I'm constantly trying to better myself. So I listen to tons of podcasts on communication, and the real good ones I share with my entire organization. So I'm trying to always improve my communication. I think putting yourself in those situations more and more, you get better, and you ask for feedback. So I'll ask for feedback from you, leadership team, even just anybody. When I do some kind of communication, I ask for feedback. How was that received?
What could I have done better?
Yeah.
And be open to that feedback, I think, because I think a lot of times people can shy away from that.
Correct. I think something we're getting better and better at in our organization is having other managers sit in with certain managers, or just sit in certain meetings and stuff like that, just to see somebody else's communication style and can see how they run a meeting, see how they did this disciplinary action, and how how to properly do it. So I think number one is
that's a good point there, because I think a lot of managers, they don't have that training, right?
Yeah.
And on how to properly do those things and how to properly communicate better. So that's great right there.
Yeah, I think we as business owners, we assume too much. We assume that
we hired them; they should know everything.
You're in a manager role, like you should be able to know how to do a disciplinary action, and it's like they've never done it before. They've never had it done to them, maybe because they've risen up and grown to a manager now. So you have to don't assume anything. So the first couple of ones, you should probably have somebody that's really good at it, that's experienced. Sit in with that person and show them how to go through it. Like
100%.
I'm just using disciplinary action as an example, but it could be just
a
feedback.
review.
It could be a review. It could be
or even a coaching session.
Yeah.
Your one-on-one coach. We do a lot of one-on-ones, and I think that's crucial right there to sit in with your managers and
correct. And any type of training you should go through it. Your leasing, I don't know, I'm just using examples, but we do it in sales all the time. Like usually when a new salesperson always goes with the sales manager and you listen to the first, but it should be on everything, especially these soft skills of people management. I don't know why we assume it shouldn't be, they should also, managers.
I think your employees would appreciate that. I remember I worked at Victoria's Secret Direct, right? And I got coaching calls all the time. And that was an opportunity for me to get better, to better myself as a salesperson, right? And so your employees would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And go back to the active listening part of this. We spend way too much time. I think all of us, we all do it. I do it to you at times. Instead of just truly listening to what you're saying, I'm already thinking of like, what's going to be my comeback, or what's going to be our next argument point, or how am I going to, and I'm not even listening.
Only that, like you're busy doing other things. Like, you have an employee who wants to talk to you about something. You're on the computer, facing your back. No, but maybe facing your back to the employee and not really listening to them. So like put down what you're doing, be where your feet are, and truly listen to what they're saying before you even say anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still struggling at that. If you didn't get that, I'm too busy, and they walk in and like, you're interrupting me, like scheduled time, but I need to stop, put everything, and just give me my full attention.
Like I said, guys, all this is from experiences that we've gone through over the last 23 years that we're not perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. But as we grow and scale, these are things that we all have to work on.
So the next section is conflict resolution and problem solving. So managing conflict, resolving issues with the team. We've gone through some of this already, but maybe talk to Joni, you do it well on the client side with managing people and managing staff. What do you recommend for the listeners as far as resolving issues with their team and conflicts? And
I think that it goes back to the communication, because I think that communication and it starts from the very beginning, like having that open line of communication with your staff early on, so they build enough trust with you to come and talk to you about these issues, right?
That's a good example. Yeah. And
I think that with that, then you guys have trust in each other that you're going to resolve these issues quickly. And I think those frequent check-ins, those one-on-ones, those 30, 60, 90-day reviews, I think all that is crucial, because when things come up, you can squash them a lot quicker if you have the frequent check-ins and build that trust and relationship with somebody.
Yeah. And that's something we've gotten better at and keep working on, is the consistent feedback, right? And that we keep talking about this feedback. But somebody told me feedback is the breakfast at champions, because it's just so imperative. And it goes both ways. But it's we try to give feedback as soon as we see something. We try to immediately give the feedback, because if you let it linger, you can't let it wait because we do quarterly reviews. So we do the 30, 60, 90, and then it moves into quarterly. sometimes a quarterly review is too far away that you need to give that feedback sooner.
Yeah, and you have to squash it right away, because if the further that you let it go on, then that employee is going to say, oh, well, they didn't tell me, what I was doing wrong. Like, I thought I was
killing it.
Yeah. What do you mean? Now I'm in my 90-day review and you're telling me that
I'm getting written up or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
There.
And so they're like baffled that you're even having this conversation with them.
Yeah.
Which you and I have, we've struggled with this because, again, it goes back to the uncomfortable conversations, right? You don't like to have those uncomfortable conversations. And so we're like, oh, let's push it on to somebody else. Let's push it on to the managers. But really, it starts with us.
Mm-hmm. Or we just wait too long. Like, I don't have time for that today. My calendar's full.
What you used to tell me that all the time. Like, Joni, squash it now. Yeah. Do it now.
But just like handle it. Like it's live, fresh. And also the other thing is most employees are going to, they're always going to come back with, well, give me an example when I did that. And so
always 100%.
We had one employee that was like her constant.
So I started writing every example down so I didn't forget about it.
Right away, she'd be like, well, I don't remember that. I never did that. Well, give me an example when I did that. And it's like, oh, yeah. And she wanted detailed examples. And so we would always, if you just squash it right after it happened or later and do it one-on-one. Don't do it in front. We never do it in front of other people in the organization, especially if they are in management positions, but do it on a one-on-one and privately. But they want to know, hey, how and it says, hey, here's how I saw this, here's how I think it was taken. Here's how I think we could have done it better. Yeah. And so it's just giving that feedback right away.
Yeah, and give and not just the negative, give the positive as well, like what they're doing, good at, because. Yeah, you just don't want to hear the negative of, oh, like, this is what you're doing wrong, right? Like, what are they doing right?
Yeah. I think we've talked about this on the podcast. We, and this is where Joni and I have really learned on soft skills as well. We had a really good manager for that was with us a short time, but he passed and moved on. But one thing that he used to always tell us is like, hey guys, you're doing 95% of everything right. Mm-hmm. Don't just focus on the 5%. Like, yes, the 5% are important, but don't, And so what he was getting at with Joni and I was, just giving us some feedback that, hey, you guys are only calling out the 5%, and like you never call out the 95% to the organization that of what they're doing right, and give them feedback, positive feedback on everything they're doing, because they need that too. They need the encouragement. And so we got better at it. We got better with handwritten cards. We got better with just sending a quick Teams message, just saying, hey, that, you're killing it. Like, I saw what you did. That was awesome, and just giving them little feedback, and it goes such a long way. And so just constant praise.
Yeah.
And then Brett does a great job in some of the huddles and all that, giving positive feedback. Or we do, when the organization can give feedback, on a bigger scale. So a lot of times they give feedback on some of the huddles, and then in some of the customer service workshops, you hear the organization praising.
Yeah, the cheers for peers.
Other people. And it's like, and they're publicly doing it. And this is where you and I got to get better, is like we publicly as well got to give more cheer and feedback and positivity publicly because that's, again, besides financial motivation.
Yeah, that's part that's their motivation. They want to be praised and recognized for a job well done.
Do. Yeah. Well, a human, it's like, I heard a good example of that. It was like recently it was an example, because this goes back to husband and wife, right? It's like if you come home, say your wife cooks for you, right? And you come home every day, and I'm guilty of this. You come home and she's like cooked you a good meal, and you just start eating. You're like, you start eating and like move on. She's like, was it good? Was it not? Did I not do a good job? Is she going to be motivated to cook you another? Yeah, probably not. But if you come home and say, man, babe, that was just the most delicious meal I've ever ate. Oh, you're such a great cook. She's going to be like, oh, feeling good.
Make this again. Yeah. This is his favorite.
And then goes vice versa with some, like the husband taking out the trash. If the wife says, hey, can you take out the trash? and you do it and she comes back and just doesn't say anything or whatever, it's like, oh, well, that didn't go anywhere. And then, but if she came back, she's like, honey, you're the best. You're so strong and good looking. Thank you for and you're like, then you're feeling good, right? You're going to take out the trash. You might feel like you're going to get lucky that night.
Now you're overdoing it.
But
I get it.
yeah, it's the same thing with employees. The more feedback and positivity, the more likely they're going to repeat that habit.
And then they're like, man, like honestly, they want to do a good job and they want to go above and beyond. But if they don't know how well they're doing, right? Mm-hmm.
So, and then we'll move on to so we spent a lot of time on that one. Let's go on to the next section, coaching and feedback. So we've talked a lot about that. Mm-hmm. It's just develop a program. So we have within our CRM software, it's already built in. So it's kind of cool. So it goes on this whole onboarding process, and then right away it automatically moves them to a quarterly feedback. So we do quarterly reviews. How we do it is we send them out a page to fill out so they can fill it out. The manager reviews it on how their performance, because you want to know how do they think in their eyes, how do they think they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you want to get that feedback, and then what you agree with, what you maybe disagree with. And a lot of times it's just opening the awareness to like, okay, they might have thought they were just killing it on everything. And it's like, they didn't even know that there's some real deficiencies that you're seeing, in certain areas. Yeah. And so it's that feedback. And then same thing, they can get the feedback on the company. Where is the company failing? Where are we?
And I think that it's important to put out. So there's a lot of, smaller business owners that are listening to this podcast right now, right? And yes, we're much larger. That's why we have it in our CRM. But I think you can also put it, in your calendar, like, a reminder, this is when you need to do your 30. If you only have a couple employees, this is when you need to do your 30, 60, 90 days and your quarterly reviews. Because I think a lot of times we get so busy and then we're like, oh shoot, it's already a year and we haven't, because we've done that. We've done that.
Or even recently.
Yeah. Where it's been a year and we haven't sat with that employee, right? And then you wonder why it didn't work out. Mm-hmm.
And you didn't coach them, or you didn't.
Yeah. And
you did the initial 2-week training and you're like, good luck. And then that's about it.
Right. And that brings me to my another point with the coaching and feedback. I think it's important that they have a buddy. They have somebody that they are assigned to where, if they have questions throughout the process or being they have somebody to go to, somebody that they can trust other than their manager. Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I think you should be constantly developing your team. And again, this goes to the soft skills. That's why we do the customer service workshop.
We read books together,
Yeah, we go over we listen to live calls. It's constantly improving our customer service, which is, again, a soft skill that you have to learn. And so you got to invest that time and energy. So it's books, courses, podcasts.
You listen to this podcast. A lot of them do.
So just to, constantly, if you're not developing your people, then what's the opposite? They're not improving, and that's not what you want.
Right.
You want to keep improving, especially as you keep growing and building your company.
Absolutely.
So this segment 6, so building trust and motivation. So this is a good one. Because the minute you lose trust either with that employee, or the company loses trust in the employee loses trust in the company, it's not going to be a good. It's headed up for failure.
I agree.
Right. And it goes both ways. Like, so this is where the feedback both ways really matters.
And I want to throw out there the core values, because I think that, we have a set of core values. Everybody should have a set of core values. And that's really what comes down to, right? They have to be living the core values. You have to be living those core values every single day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you should be praising people based upon the core values. You should be, so we use we're big fans of EOS. And so, don't get me wrong, we didn't do all this from the beginning. A lot of stuff is recent. So, we started to make decisions based upon people, based upon our core values. So there's a sheet, like, so if should we hire this person or not? Or say we got, we had recently we had the availability to hire. There was 2 candidates that both were good, and we're kind of weighing like which one was the best candidate for the hire. So we went through the whole sheet with
the people analyzer.
People analyzer. That's what I was looking for. And so it has your core values, and then it has, are they capable?
Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity?
Great, thank you. And so you rate them based upon your core values, and then those 3 principles. And so depending on their score, so it's either yes, they got it, or I don't know, it's like 50-50, or no, they don't at all.
Right.
But for the most part, somebody that you hire should all align with your core values and should pretty much have all those 3.
Yeah. And of course, when you're hiring somebody, that you can only read that from, the interview, but if you, like in our case, our entire leadership team interviews them. And so then we can have a good idea if they're going to meet our core values and, meet do they have it? Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity?
Correct.
But I think you can do this with your people that are in your organization now, because things change. Over time, you might think, all right, well, this person I thought they were a right fit, right person, right seat, right? But things have changed over time. And so when you're getting complaints or you're having issues, you can take this people analyzer and say, okay, do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity? And do they meet our core values?
Absolutely. Moving on to the next section is last one, final point, was self-awareness and continuous learning. So, and we've talked a lot about this, but being self-aware is a skill that you really need to have in life. And we all, as humans, I think at times lack it. Just being self-aware of how our actions, how they have an impact, how we are maybe perceiving the situation or how we are responding to a situation. I think it's always good to sleep on it, and that's a lot of times I'll say I'll sleep on it, and it's just to give me time to process it, to analyze it, to become self-aware. Am I feeling angry because is it just maybe something in me that's wrong, or is it really so just analyzing, really, really processing, and becoming self-aware of how you respond to this, rather than just splatting out whatever. And
taking ownership when.
What are you trying to say, John?
I'm not saying anything.
But because you can be self-aware and then not agree with it,
exactly,
and not take ownership.
I mean, exactly. You're not doing anything about it.
I
mean, you're self-aware, but you're not doing anything about it. I'm not you. I'm just saying in general.
I'm continuously learning. But you got to be really self-aware to effectively manage people.
Yes.
And you have to be aware of people's different styles and their number one. Everybody. That's the hard part about this soft skills. It's to be honest with you guys, it's difficult. It's difficult.
The people business is probably the most difficult.
Yes, and so.
But in order to have a thriving business,
yes,
the
better you are at the better your business.
People management,
and the better people stay, and they're happier, and you got a better culture. And so you definitely, what we're getting at it with all of this is you got to invest in it. You got to spend time. You got to work on it. Yeah. You got to improve yourself as a leader, and it starts with you as the business owner. If you are a business owner. But you yourself have to continuously learn, and your leaders should continuously learn, and you should provide
growth opportunities for your leaders to learn. We have leadership seminars and people that come in to teach them because to develop them to be better leaders so they can develop their team.
Absolutely. It's so imperative. It's so valuable that you have to keep working at it. You and I keep working at it as owners, and then we want our team and the people that don't continuously learn and improve are usually the ones that get surpassed, and that's the truth of it.
Or they leave because, they're not behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes back, our part of our core values is personal development, right?
Yeah.
And so if they're not wanting to do that, they're probably not going to be there very long.
Yeah. So I hope we shared some stuff that's valuable. I want you to work on your soft skills, the soft, mushy part of managing people, and it's
Crucial.
It's crucial, and it usually they're in business. The more we've learned over the years is that there really isn't any secret sauce to business. There's really no. A lot of companies, especially like property management or the plumbing business, it's all the same, right? And there's yes, people do things a little differently. You might have some little small tactic or some new, like in real estate's a good example. When you look at sales and marketing, it was like direct to seller, there was like ringless voicemail drops, and then there was texting, and then there was cold calling, and so everybody was looking for this next secret. But really what it came down to was, how do you effectively manage and run your sales team and effectively manage people and all that. That was really it doesn't matter what you use, it still comes down to people.
Exactly.
And so
being laser focused and improving wherever you can in your business.
Yeah, improving your people and working with your people and providing feedback. So feedback's got to be the number one thing that we can if anything, give more feedback and be receptive to more feedback and ask for it. So
love it.
Awesome. Well, hope you guys got something out of it. Again, if you are enjoying this or it benefits you or think you can benefit somebody else, please share it. Please rate us, because that's how it gets spread as well. And we get more eyeballs on our podcast. And we appreciate everybody listening, and have a great week.
See you, everyone.
You've been listening to Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle. Tons of entrepreneurial podcasts are out there, talking. But Joni and Shawn are living it every single day. Their portfolio now includes many franchises and medium-sized businesses. We talk about the trials and motivators of successfully running a business. Join us again soon for another podcast. But until then, reach out on the website at InsideTheWolfsDen.com, on Facebook at Inside the Wolf's Den, on Instagram at Inside the Wolf Den. We'll see you again soon. This is Inside the Wolf's Den. We'll see you next time.